Hi again everyone, Ken from Whittling Woods back again with another whittling project. Today we're going to do this little hillbilly character. You can get a look at him here. Basically just hanging out in his overalls. Not much face detail, he's got lots of hair, beard, hair, everything just hanging all over his face. Got a old hat on. Old pair of jeans with a patch in them. Just one strap left. That's all. It's a pretty simple carving. He's got little boots on. And what I did was took a 4-inch piece of basswood, divided it in half. These are just reference marks. And then I took inch marks. Again, really just for reference, for drawing the piece. And then I did a rough front profile and a side profile. I'll give you a look at that. Again, I just used the reference marks. You can see where the knees are, about where the belly and the chest come together, the brim of the hat and the nose are at that one line. So that's really about it. Just using the reference marks to draw your picture. It's not based on anything particular. I did this carving yesterday, just playing around, coming up with an idea as I went, and after it was done, I decided to redo it for a YouTube video. And so here we are. So basically that's it. You can alter it, change it any way you want. It's pretty straightforward. And we're going to be using the Stanley 199. If you watch a few of my other videos, you've seen that I've used this in a number of videos. I use a blade from Lenox, it's called, and it has 4 of these notches. You can see 2 protruding over here. I secure it in the 2 notches on the inside, and it allows the blade to protrude a little bit further. It gives you just a little bit more reach. It's the same size blade as the normal Stanley blades that you buy, but it just, with the extra couple notches, it gives you a little bit more reach. You can do it with the other ones as well, but I think this works out a little bit better. The other thing, keep in mind, when you do use one of these, the blade's going to need a little work before you can get it ready to whittle. You're going to want to sharpen it up a bit and hone it up, get it ready to go. So there you go. I'm going to get everything set up and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. First, we're going to take the top down a little bit where the hat is. Just take off some of the corners. And taper back. All right, we're going to find where the bottom brim of the hat is. We're going to put a little stop cut on the corner there to start it. And I like to angle the hat from the front of the head to the back of the head downward a bit. Just a bit. I think it looks more natural that way. And then we're going to continue across the front. And then do the other side. Stop cut, just cut up to it. We're basically establishing the boundary for where the head comes out from below the cap. We're not fully developing the hat right now. We really don't want to. You want to keep a little wood in this area first, and maybe do the final refining, because the brim, as you can see on this character, gets a little small in there, and it's easy to chip off. So initially, while you're carving, keep it a little thick. You can taper back the tops a bit, but I tend to keep the brims on the bottom a little thick initially, just to avoid breaking and chipping and all that kind of stuff. All right. We're gonna basically take off some of the edge where the front of the face and beard is. Again, this guy's got basically all hair, so we're not worrying about a lot of facial detail. It's all going to be just hair. It's pretty straightforward to carve in that regard. And again, with these, you're going to kind of look at just taking off that edge, maybe at a 45, give or take, from sort of where the ears would end and the nose may begin. Something like that. Since he's got a lot more hair, we don't have to go back quite that far, but something like that. And then we're going to do pretty much the same thing in the back. Just taking down the edges a bit. So there we go. All right. And we can now round off the hat a bit more. So take each corner down. Okay, the bottom of the nose is going to be, you can just barely see what's left of the mark here. We're going to put our knife in there and do a stop cut at the bottom of the nose. And just cut right up to it. That's all. So we got just basically a square nose in there right now. We'll round it off a little bit. Again, it's just peeking below the cap. So let's go around and kind of round off the bottom a bit. And then cut up on the sides. If you can see how I'm doing it, just a little bit in there. Just put your knife in, cut it, go back on the top under the brim, and remove that chunk of wood. Just to stand the nose out a bit on the face there. Okay, same thing on the other side. And remove that chunk of wood. There you go, so he's got a little bit of a nose. We'll round it out and do all that fun stuff as we go. So now we have the beginning of the hat and the face. The beard is going to end right where this line is, about here. So we're going to kind of come down. And there are no set measurements on this. You can make the beard all the way down to his belly if you want. Obviously, these are just fictional little fun characters, so we can make them look any way you want. I'm just kind of going around and defining where the bottom of the hair will be. So basically cutting down the back and then going up from the beard to kind of where the shoulders are. And just forming a little peak in there. Again, we're going to come back and tighten everything up as we go. But so there we are. We have we define where the bottom of the hair is, where the shoulders are. All right. Next thing, we can start tapering down the sides a bit. We can just take the whole stretch down the whole back, as we've got plenty of wood to remove. That'll get us going. We're going to want to taper that up the back into where the hair is. So there we got that. We're going to establish the back of the knee at this point over here. It's just below that that one line over there, give or take. So you see that that's like an inch mark. So we're going to establish that. We're going to make a stop cut all the way across, cut up and cut down to it. Again, referencing this, you can see how that goes. So there's that. Back, you can see on the figure here, it kind of swoops from where his back end would be up into his hairline. This being the lower back in this area over here. So it's kind of swoops in a little bit over there. So we can consider doing that by just making cuts in here like this. Just coming up from the bottom of the back up into the hairline. Just getting ourselves established. And the way I like to carve is not to work on any one section until it's finished, just to constantly go around the carving and work areas of it to a semi-finish, and then going back and refining it. Sometimes if you were to, let's say, if you had a detailed face and spent a lot of time working on the face, and you got that perfect the way you like it, it's all finished, and you go into the body and you accidentally chop off a foot or a leg, you might destroy the piece, and you've spent a lot of time doing the face. And I mean, you could reuse it maybe some way, but it makes sense to kind of refine things as you go a bit, rather than working to completion on any one side. That's the way I carve. Other people may approach it differently, obviously, so to whatever your liking is, of course. I'm just rounding out the edges here on the front. And then we're going to have the top of the boot at this point over here on the carving. So we're going to make stop cuts and come down to that. Be careful as you're making these. You don't want to go too far, because that wood becomes very fragile and you're kind of cutting with the grain, so it's very easy to keep going and snap it right off. So just take your time. Don't force the knife, because you will do that. So there you go. That's where we're at so far. Now on the front, we're going to have where it's kind of his belly meets into his legs over here. He's going to have a little paunch maybe, and his hands are going to be in the pocket, so it's actually going to cause a little bit of a bunch up there too as well. So we have that kind of, you can see on the figure here, it's drawn in over there. So we're just going to come in here And again, stop cuts right across. This is basically forming the top of the leg, thigh area. So that's where we're at. Next, we're going to work on where the arms are. What we're going to do is come in here and make a cut down this side up to where the pocket is, and then take out that wood. So we're going to take our knife, put it in there, and bring it back all the way to the top. Just being careful when you do this that you don't cut up too far. So you got to cut in there, and then we're going to put a stop cut in there and just go in here and kind of take out that wood. So basically you get the arm extending beyond there. So it looks like it's hanging on the side like it should. Don't cut down too far because again, the arm's got to go into the pocket, so we have to basically cut at the bottom of the arm where it goes into the pants, make a stop cut there, and then cut down on the arm into that stop cut. Don't cut up this way too much because it's going into the pants. If you start removing a lot of wood here, you're just going to have to go back and keep removing wood in the front to make it look like it's going in. All right. And then essentially on the front, we're going to do the same kind of idea. We're going to come from the bottom and we're going to make a stop cut all the way up to the top. And then come out and basically take out that wood. All right. So we have that kind of setup. All right. I'm going to do the other arm. Since you've seen this, you don't need to see this one. I'm going to do the other arm real fast, and I will be right back. Okay, we're back. Basically, I did the same thing on the other side, just what you saw me do here. So, pretty straightforward. It can be a little fussy sometimes cutting the arms out like that, but on a small figure like this. But it's, you know, you have a little leeway. Okay. So we're going to keep maybe thinning this out a bit. Let's get his chest down just a little bit more. And we're going to taper the top of the arm into what would be the shoulder. So we're going to do that on both sides. It's going to come in a little bit over there, front and back. And then we can start rounding the arms. So just little, since this is really small, these arms are pretty skinny. You just want to take your time and round them off bit by bit. Okay. Let's start rounding the whole figure now a little bit more. So we're going to come around the back here. Take our time and just round it out. Something like that. I'm going to reestablish the line here in the center, because that's going to be where his legs and his boots come apart. So we're going to do that on both sides. And I'll start with the boot. I'll put a stop cut in there, and I'm going to just cut a little notch in there. We'll get ourselves started with doing it that way. So it kind of separates the shoes there. Cut down on one side a bit. Cut down on the other side. The pants are going to basically, as you can see on this character, they're going to come down. They're baggy. He's got his older brother who's much larger than him. He's got his overalls on. He's used overalls on. So they're a lot bigger and baggier. And that's why they're bagging up a bit down there. So we're going to kind of do the same thing over here. We're going to basically just put a stop cut at the bottom of the pants and where the boot come together, and just cut from the boot back into that. So basically creates that. We're going to do that on both sides. Stop cut, cut from the boot back into it. And then we can start rounding out the boots a bit. Alrighty. We're going to now, on the back, go from, we'll start at where the back of the knee is, and we'll come down. We'll put a stop cut in here. And then we're going to basically go along and get rid of that wood. Just making a V cut, so to speak, in there. We can go back and round it out. We'll go up a little bit higher in his pants there, and then come down and kind of cut out that wood. We're not fully separating the legs. We're just giving the illusion that he's standing with his legs together. This is only a 3/4 inch wide piece, so you don't have the room to fully separate the legs. If you use a wider piece, then by all means, if you feel inclined, probably easier to come up there, maybe even with a saw, if it's just a bit wider, and then cut that out. But that way, at least it'll establish some semblance of legs there. All right. And like I said, keep in mind as you go, and you see me doing it here, you can choose to do it any way you wish, but like I said earlier, I don't work any particular area to a finish and then move on. I work around the piece as I go. So I'm going to do a stop cut here. I'm going to go from the top of the boot, follow that line up to just above his knee. So I put a stop cut in there. Then I'll come in here with my knife and I'll cut down along that stop cut at an angle and remove that wood. Same thing on the other side. We'll come down here and we'll carefully remove that piece over there. And again, we're dividing the legs there, so you can see how that works. Something like that. So, not looking too bad. I think these need to be cut back a little bit further. Same thing in the back. Let's start trimming that back a little bit. Something like that. And we'll maybe start scaling back these boots. They're a little big. What I like to do on these characters is give the bottom of the boot, I don't know if you can see it on this one, they sort of flare up a little bit at the end. I don't know, for some reason I think when it's standing there it just looks more natural, looks better that way, so we're just basically gonna do that on these here. I'll cut these back a little bit, just a bit. And then we'll start rounding out the boot. And come around and just spend a little time just kind of cutting away the boot. You know, to whatever shape. I mean, if you're ambitious, which would be cool, and I've done it in a few figures, maybe you make them barefoot and put some toes in there. We'll do that in another figure one day, because that kind of looks cool. It just takes a little bit of time, and with these smaller pieces, the little toes can be a little tricky, but we'll do it one day. There you go. You can kind of compare it to that. You can see the back over here. We're going to go for that detail right where his pants come to his butt area. Basically come in here and we'll just kind of cut up, make a little stop cuts, just showing some form around the body, I guess. And the pants would naturally kind of bag up in some of these areas. So that's really what you're doing. You're really creating some folds in the garment. So something like that. And then maybe we'll round this out a bit more. I think what we have to do here is fix these hands as they come down. Let's come down here to where the pocket is. Cut that in. And then I need to take out a little wood here. There you go. So that looks a little bit better. Same thing on this side. Come in here, deepen that cut. Take at that wood. All right, let's clean some of this up. And start rounding out top of his pants here. Actually, I guess they're overalls he's wearing, so. You can kind of see here how we're getting there. I think the more I'm looking at this has got to come up a little bit higher. The legs just were not long enough. Let me go back and fix that. I'm just going to cut down a little bit more. There we go. I think that's looking a little bit better. Just looked a little off to me. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. If you were to get one spot completely finished and then you decided, oh, something didn't look quite right, sometimes it's difficult to correct it if it's too finished. So leave yourself a little whittling wiggle room on your carving. All right, let's kind of play around with the beard and hair a little bit now. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here for a minute and strap my knife a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Honed up the knife a little bit, and we'll work a bit on the hat and the beard. For the beard, you can see how I did it on this one. These are small characters, so if you put a lot of detail in there, it maybe looks a little bit, I'm sorry about the view here. Maybe looks a little too busy. So all I did was make a bunch of little notches, stop cuts, to create the illusion of hair kind of coming all over the place. He's a hillbilly. Doesn't care about, he's not going on a job interview. He's hanging out, chopping wood, whittling. So what we're going to do is just get it ready to go here. I'll take just generally shape the hair. I'm going to make it taper into the hat a little bit more over here and over here. Round it a bit. we could put a little mouth in here like I did on the other one. Basically, it's going to be something like that. We'll maybe make it open too, like we did on the other one. So we'll just make a little cut over here, kind of go around, maybe form the bottom of the lip. And then maybe cut on top. And we'll cut away some of the wood in there. So it kind of gives it the impression that he's got lips in there. Maybe cut right down the middle. And kind of carefully remove a little chunk of wood in there. So it looks like there's some separation between his lips. If you can see that. That's basically all you need to do. And we'll clean up some of the wood around there. So that's that. It's really simple. Looks like he's maybe whistling. The other guy, I think, was kind of shouting or humming. This guy's just whistling. We can round out the nose just a bit more, I think. Maybe taper it back just a bit more. Come up a little bit on the sides. Again, no set rules. Just do it any way you like. And then for the beard, again, we'll just do some notch cuts here like that. See what I'm talking about? We'll just go around and do some of those. And we'll keep going around. I'm just going to go do a few of these just around. I'll kind of zoom through this part over here since it's a little repetitive. Okay, there you go. That's basically just a bunch of little stop cuts, notches. We go around and do that. We're going to put a couple cuts underneath here to give the illusion that the hair is kind of not completely straight coming out of the hat there. There's a bit of, just a bit of variation, not a lot, but just a couple little cuts like this. Again, this little notches, stop cuts. We want to get some of this done before we finish up the hat, again, because we're going to be cutting up into it a lot. We want to have a little bit more thickness there before you do that, because it's easy to chip it out. So kind of get most of the work like this done in the hair before you do the hat. And maybe one more right in there. Again, I'm just kind of putting a stop cut and then just coming back and widening it a bit, kind of making a V cut. And then you can come back and play around with it a bit more in terms of just the look you want. Okay, there we go. A lot of times what I do, now that I'm at the point where the rest of the carving is just refining things and adding more detail or cleaning it up. There's a lot of little fuzzies, irregularities in it when you carve. Now you want to go back and just start cleaning things up a bit. And that's what you do. It's a repetitive process. But a couple other little detail items we put in, maybe like you can see in here, creases, wrinkles in the fabric where they bunch up. Typically, around the knees. You might want to put a cut in here like so. Cut up and down to it. Basically forming a bit of a crease in the pants there. And we'll do it on both sides. Again, stop cut, cut up to it, cut down to it. Another stop cut, cut up to it, cut down to it. Basically like that. This is one way to add a little crease in there. And then maybe around the bottom, we're going to bunch up his pants a bit. You just kind of come in here and put some cuts in. Just to create little wrinkles, just a little subtle detail like that. Sometimes it just looks good in these kind of carvings. That's why you don't want to thin them out too much as you're doing this too, because you won't have any room to come back and do this kind of stuff. So make sure you always leave just a little bit of wood for yourself around those areas that you're going to maybe come back and add a little bit of detail like that too. And just kind of think in terms of where clothes would naturally bunch up. Maybe the pants are a little too long, so they're going to bunch up around the bottoms a bit. Stuff like that. And you kind of see it's the same thing on this kind of fella here too. I did put a couple pockets in the other guy. All I did for that was I come in here. Basically, I'll draw it in. I put a line. There's back pocket there, and another one over here. And I have somewhere to keep his corn cob pipe. That's it. Basically, it gives him a little pocket in the back. You can come around to on the top here, maybe add a few wrinkles in the clothes. they pull a little bit. These hands in the pocket, so then naturally the clothes are going to kind of pull in that direction. So that's kind of what you're aiming for. Again, think of how things would naturally occur. And just a few. You don't have to do a lot. Maybe a couple in the front. Just small stuff like that. All right. Now this other guy had a pair of overalls on, and I kind of like that idea. So just to make it different, we're going to put the strap over this other shoulder. These are going to come down like that and like that. And all you do is come in here and cut out, follow your line that you just did with your knife, just cut in there. And then just come back and cut the wood up to that. You could, obviously paint that in, but the problem with doing it that way is it doesn't define the boundary as well. This creates a bit more definition, obviously, because it's two separate planes now, and it's easier to paint it. And since we're painting these figures, that's kind of the thing. All right. Same thing for this over here. We're going to come around with our knife, follow our line, and then just go back and take that wood up. Away from it there. And we'll fit it out just a bit more. There you go. Now he's got his little overalls on in the front there. And in the back, we'll pretty much do the same thing. We'll carry this around here. And we'll go up under his hair with that. And we'll follow the line here and go up that way. Something like that. And again, same thing. Just come in there with your knife, follow the lines you just made. And just, since the inside part's going to be shallower, that's the wood you remove. And same thing over here. We're going to just follow this right up. Cutting away that wood. It's kind of that. Alrighty. Since this video is taking a little longer, we're going to kind of start thinning out the hat so we can finish this one up and call it good. So I'm just going to start moving around here pretty quickly, slowly thinning it out, taking little swooping cuts to create the brim. And so I'm going to speed this up a little bit because it's a little repetitive. Okay, we got it thinned out pretty good here. Now we're going to create just a little bit of a, little crookedness in the hat. So we'll come up here, maybe take it in just a little bit there. And then since it's going in that way, it's going to come out that way there. So we'll knock this down a little bit. And a little bit more. And then Maybe a little wrinkle up here too, a little crookedness in here. Have it bend a little bit forward again. Just to add a little variety to the hat. You don't want it straight. All right, well, you can have it straight. It just looks a little better when you're viewing these things, to have a little bit of variety. Maybe a little notch on the top here. Something like that. The only other thing I did on this guy was I put a little, as you can see here, he's got a little patch in his clothes. And I'm thinking this guy should probably have the same thing. I'm not sure where to put it. We'll put it up front. So basically, we'll put a little patch right in here. I just come in there with my knife straight in, follow the lines. And that's it, just go and cut out around those lines. And you can come back and kind of just remove some of the wood in there, just to relieve it a little bit. Again, it just makes it easier when you're painting it to do it that way. That's really the reason. You could certainly, paint these in. Okay, he's got a little patch there. That's basically it. The rest of it is going to be just some cleaning up. You can see there's a lot of irregularities and fuzzies and stuff like that. But just go back and take your time, clean that up. And that's really about it. Oh, the other one thing we do want to do is maybe create a little bit of definition in the arms here. He's going to have an elbow right here, so maybe we just kind of start removing a little wood in there just to kind of make it look like it bends there naturally. And the same thing on the back. We'll shave this up a little bit, maybe bring this down a little bit. So it looks like there's a slight bend in the arm. Nothing dramatic. I mean, you could come in here and put a little notch, cut, something like that if you wanted to. You don't really have to. Same thing over here. Little notch maybe. Create that crease where the elbow is. And then just taper the wood. Kind of give it a little bit more natural look. So that's essentially it. I think a little more thinning of the brim of his hat here. Maybe rounding it a bit. Just a bit more. So stuff like that will do. But what I'm going to do now is basically stop this here and go through cleaning up just some of this messiness on here and come back. The other thing I didn't do here is maybe put a little bit of notch over here, give him look like he's got a bit of a heel in his boot, something like that. Might have to cut his pants back a little bit further. That's another detail you could add. Just straight in and then cut it. Same thing on the other side. cut it in there and then just cut up to it, just from the front. You don't want to cut the back portion of it. Just cut up from the front. Create a little bit of a heel. Maybe cut the pants back a little bit on that side too, so they can see the heel. Something like that. And you'll come through and you'll just go around now, cleaning up everything. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. Let me stop it here. Clean up some of the stuff I have. And come back and show you what it looks like. Alrighty, be right back. Okay, we're back. Piece all finished up, cleaned up, ready for painting. And there he is. Little hillbilly guy. Got his overalls on, a couple pockets in the back, baggy pants. His brother, I guess. Same kind of little character. All done again with the Stanley 199. And out of basswood, 4 inches, 3/4, 4 inches, and that's really about it. There's the little carving, and it's an easy, rough, fairly easy project. There's not a lot of detail in the face. You can go crazy on the clothes and everything else if you want in terms of detail. It's not a lot of wood, and it's a fun little project to do. So if you do it, that's great. Have fun with it, and hope you enjoyed the video. And again, I appreciate all the support, and thank you for watching. Happy whittling. See you soon. Bye-bye.